Brutal betrayal. Russian sub abandons officers to US F-35s. Not an accident, but a calculated erasure.
January 10th, 2026, 0612 hours. The Caribbean Sea is usually a turquoise paradise, a playground for cruise ships and commerce. Not tonight. Tonight, 90 nautical miles north of the Venezuelan coast, the ocean is a black void of heaving water and gale force winds. The weather conditions are severe. Visibility is near zero. The waves are capping at 12 feet, smashing into the rusting hull of a vessel that officially does not exist. The ship is painted with the name M. Simon. To the casual observer, or a satellite passing overhead at orbital velocity, it looks like a derelict Venezuelan trawler fighting a losing battle against the storm. But the Simon is not fishing. It is dead in the water, drifting intentionally. Its engines are cold to mask its thermal signature. The crew is not casting nets. They are leaning over the gunnels, vomiting from seasickness and fear, watching the black water churn alongside their hull. Then the water breaks. It doesn't splash, it boils. A massive cylindrical shape breaches the surface, shedding tons of seawater like a surfacing leviathan. It is black, rubber-coated, and silent. This is not a creature. It is the Russian Federation's answer to American naval dominance. The Project 636.3, Improved Kilo-class submarine. NATO call sign, the Black Hole. The submarine's double hull construction, designed to reserve buoyancy, forces it up through the wavetops. The hatch on the conning tower cracks open. Red light spills into the storm. Men scramble out onto the wet casing, securing a line to the trawler. This is a high-risk maneuver known as a dark ship transfer. In the age of satellite surveillance, you do not pull into a port to offload illicit cargo. You do it here in the middle of a storm, where the wave clutter hides your radar return. They are moving crates, heavy shock-proof containers. Inside are not drugs, or gold, or cash. Inside are the brains of a nightmare. The cargo manifest lists them as industrial machinery, but the technical reality is far more terrifying. These crates contain the advanced guidance modules for the 3 M22 Zircon missile. Let us pause the clock here. We need to understand the stakes. We need to understand why a rusty trawler and a diesel submarine are meeting in the middle of a hurricane to exchange a few hundred pounds of electronics. Geopolitics is often described as a chess game. That is a lie. Chess has rules. This is poker played with a gun on the table. The Caribbean is the soft underbelly of the United States. For decades, the U.S. Navy has treated this sea as a swimming pool. But if that cargo moves from the submarine to the trawler, and from the trawler to the Venezuelan mainland, the math changes instantly. The Zircon is not just a missile. It is a hypersonic glide vehicle capable of speeds up to Mach 9. That is 9 times the speed of sound. At that velocity, the air in front of the missile does not just move out of the way. It is compressed so violently that it turns into plasma, a sheath of ionized gas burning at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The plasma sheath creates a radar-absorbing blackout, blinding active seekers. But thermally, it is a streak of fire tearing through the sky, visible to infrared sensors from miles away, if you have the right eyes looking at the right second. If Venezuela installs shore-based Zircon batteries equipped with these guidance modules, they do not just threaten a ship. They close the Caribbean. A carrier strike group, the primary instrument of American power, would be forced to operate 1,000 miles off the coast, or risk being vaporized by a kinetic impact equivalent to a freight train hitting a wall. The strategic balance of the Western Hemisphere hangs on those crates currently swaying on a crane hook between 2 heaving ships. But the Russians and the Venezuelans have made a critical miscalculation. They believe the storm is their cover. They believe the chaotic waves and the thick cloud deck will blind the eyes of the Americans. They are operating on a doctrine from the 1990s. They have forgotten that modern war is not fought with eyes. It is fought with the electromagnetic spectrum. High above the storm, cruising at 25,000 feet, an E-2D Advanced Hawkeye is circling. It is an ugly aircraft, a turboprop with a massive rotating radar dish mounted on its back like a saucer. But inside that dish is the APY-9 radar. The APY-9 radar doesn't rely on light. It punches through the storm with UHF band mechanics, detecting the massive radar cross-section of 2 steel hulls merging in a sea of chaotic waves. It creates a target track where there should be nothing but water. The data flows instantly, not via voice radio, but via Link 16. a secure digital data stream that connects every asset in the fleet. The signal bounces off a satellite down to the dark waters miles away and lights up the screens inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Gerald R. Ford. The Ford is not just a ship. It is 100,000 tons of diplomacy powered by 2 A-1B nuclear reactors. It is a floating city capable of turning the horizon into a no-fly zone. The admiral on deck does not hesitate. The command is given. Decapitation strike. The response is not a cruise missile. A cruise missile takes too long. A cruise missile gives the submarine time to dive. The response is instantaneous violence, delivered by the most advanced tactical aviation platform in human history. 2 F-35 Sea Lightning. 2 fighters catapult off the deck of the Ford. We need to stop here and analyze the machine that is now screaming toward the target. The F-35C is often misunderstood. Critics call it expensive. They call it plagued by delays. They are missing the point. The F-35 is not a fighter jet in the traditional sense. It is a flying sensor node. It is a $50 million supercomputer wrapped in stealth coating. Specifically, these are Block 4 aircraft, equipped with the Technical Refresh 3 avionics suite. This is critical. The TR-3 upgrade gives the jet a new integrated core processor with significantly higher computing power. Why does this matter? Because the battle tonight is not about dogfighting. It is about electronic warfare. The jets are carrying the ANASQ-239 Barracuda system. Unlike older jets that carry jamming pods under their wings, pods that create drag and make the plane visible to radar, the Barracuda is integrated directly into the skin of the F-35. The ASQ-239 Barracuda engages. It doesn't just drown them out with noise. It uses digital radio frequency memory. It catches the enemy's radar pulse, copies it, and sends it back slightly altered, creating ghost fleets on the Venezuelan screens. It acts as a high-gain jamming transmitter. This allows the F-35 to perform what is called stand-in jamming. Older planes have to jam from far away to stay safe. The F-35, invisible to enemy radar, flies right up to the target. By cutting the distance in half, the power of its jamming signal increases fourfold due to the inverse square law of physics. It injects noise directly into the side lobes of the enemy radar, blinding them before they even know they are under attack. As the 2 jets push past the sound barrier, the pilot in the lead aircraft, call sign Viper 1, looks through his helmet. He does not see a plastic visor. He sees a synthesized reality. The distributed aperture system, a network of cameras around the jet, stitches together a 360-degree view of the world. He can look down through the floor of his own cockpit and see the ocean below. And tonight, the ocean is about to burn. The F-35C has a unique constraint. To remain stealthy, it must carry all its weapons inside its belly. It cannot carry missiles on its wings, or the enemy radar will see it. Inside the internal bays, physics dictates the loadout. While the new Sidekick adapter allows for 6 missiles, tonight, sheer explosive mass is required. The massive 2,000-pound GBU-31 fills the entire heavy station, leaving room for nothing else but pure destruction. This is not a standard bomb. This is a 2,000-pound penetrator equipped with the QuickSync Maritime Interdiction Kit. Let's go deep on the physics of QuickSync. For decades, sinking a ship with a bomb was hard. Ships move, bombs fall. If you miss by 10 feet, you just kill some fish. To sink a ship, you usually used a torpedo, which hits the keel under the water. The QuickSync changes the laws of physics. It uses a new seeker on the nose of the bomb, likely a mix of radio frequency and imaging infrared sensors. The F-35 uses its radar to calculate the ship's speed and heading, releasing the bomb into a ballistic basket. As the bomb falls, gravity accelerates it to Mach 0.9. The seeker wakes up. It ignores the waves. It looks for the sharp, cold contrast of a steel hull against the water. But the real magic happens inside the fuse, the FMU-152 Joint Programmable Fuse. It is smart. It uses an accelerometer to feel the impact. When the bomb hits the ship, it doesn't explode instantly. If it did, it would just scorch the deck. The fuse feels the deceleration of punching through the steel plating. It waits. Specifically, it waits for roughly 15 milliseconds. The FMU-152 Joint Programmable Fuse counts precisely 15 milliseconds. Just enough time for the bomb to punch through the weather deck, bypass the crew quarters, and bury itself deep inside the main engine room before triggering. In that tiny sliver of time, the bomb travels 9 feet. It passes through the deck, through the crew quarters, and enters the cargo hold or the engine room. Then, 945 pounds of tritonal explosive detonates. The physics of a delayed detonation inside a hull are catastrophic. The pressure wave has nowhere to go. It moves faster than the speed of sound through the ship's internal atmosphere. It creates an overpressure of 5,000 psi. It blows the hull plating out from the inside. It snaps the structural bulkheads. If the bomb dives slightly deep and detonates under the keel, the gas bubble lifts the entire ship out of the water, a process called hogging, and then drops it. The steel keel snaps like a dry twig. This is the weapon hanging inside the dark bay of Viper 1, a weapon designed to delete a ship from the naval registry in under 30 seconds. Back at the surface, the Russians on the Kilo submarine are rushing. The transfer is taking too long. The storm is getting worse. The crane on the trawler is swinging wildly. A crate slams into the railing. Wood splinters. The captain of the submarine, a veteran of the Northern Fleet, feels a prickle on the back of his neck. He checks his sensors. The passive sonar is hearing nothing but the roar of the ocean. The radar warning receiver is silent. But he knows. He knows that operating a diesel submarine on the surface is suicide. He is exposed. He is vulnerable. He is blind. Suddenly, the radio on the Venezuelan trawler screams, not a voice, a screech of static, then silence, then a high-pitched digital squeal. The communications are jammed. The F-35s have engaged their electronic warfare suites. The submarine captain screams an order. Emergency dive. Clear the deck. This is the moment of betrayal. The Russian sailors on the trawler look back at their submarine. They see the hatch slam shut. They see the ballast tank vents open, spewing air and water. The submarine is not waiting for them. It is abandoning them. The Kilo-class boat begins to slip beneath the waves, its electric motors whining as they surge to 5,500 shaft horsepower. It takes 90 seconds for a Kilo to reach a safe tactical depth. 90 seconds where the hull is just below the surface, shallow enough to be seen by the magnetic anomaly detectors, shallow enough to be hit. Viper 1 is now 10 miles out. The pilot's finger hovers over the pickle switch. The target designation box on his visor turns from flashing red to solid red. The computer has a solution, but the mission profile has changed. The order from the forward was not just to destroy, it was to capture. The bomb bay doors stay closed, for now. The wake of the diving submarine is still foaming on the surface when the reality hits the crew of the MV Simon. They are alone. The Russian captain of the Kilo-class boat, a man trained in the cold-blooded calculus of nuclear deterrence, made the only choice the physics allowed. To stay on the surface was to die. To dive was to survive. The three senior GRU officers left standing on the wet deck of the trawler are not just stranded. They are discarded assets. The Venezuelan crew is in panic mode. They look at the radar screen. It is a blizzard of white noise, the result of the F-35's stand-in jamming. Their radios are dead. Their GPS is drifting. Then they hear it. Not the scream of a jet, but a low, thumping vibration that seems to shake the rivets of the hull. It is a frequency distinct from a helicopter. It is deeper, heavier. Emerging from the rain bands at 150 knots are two aircraft that look like a defiance of aerodynamics, the CMV-22B Osprey. Let's freeze the frame on these machines. The CMV-22B is the Navy's newest logistics workhorse, replacing the old C-2 Greyhound. But tonight, it is not carrying mail. It is carrying a reinforced SEAL platoon. This specific variant is different from the ones the Marines fly. To make the 1,100 nautical mile flight from the carrier to this remote patch of ocean, the engineers had to redesign the fuel system. They added massive bulbous fuel sponsons to the side of the fuselage. This engineering decision, made years ago in a conference room, now dictates the tactics of the next 3 minutes. The sea state is level 5. The waves are 13 feet high. The trawler's deck is heaving vertically 10 to 15 feet every few seconds. If the Osprey tries to land, the ship's deck could rise up and smash into the landing gear, crushing the shock struts or flipping the aircraft into the sea. The pilot has to execute a high hover. He positions the 30-ton aircraft 40 feet above the swaying deck. The proprotors are generating 40,000 pounds of thrust, blasting the deck with a hurricane of downwash that turns the sea spray into blinding needles. The SEAL team leader moves to the door. This is where the design trade-off bites them. On a normal Marine Osprey, they would throw ropes out the side door and the rear ramp, flooding the deck with operators in seconds. But on the Navy CMV version, those extra fuel sponsons, the very tanks that allowed them to get here, bulge out just below the side door. You cannot fast rope over them. The rope would snag or the trooper would smash his legs against the tank. The side door is useless. The entire team, 18 heavily armed operators, must funnel through the rear ramp alone. It creates a tactical bottleneck. Instead of 4 ropes, they have 2. The time on target doubles. The ropes drop. The operators slide down into the chaotic wash. The trawler is rolling 5 degrees to the left, then 5 to the right. The ropes swing like pendulums. It takes immense physical strength to detach from the rope and land on a wet, moving steel plate without breaking an ankle. The Venezuelans surrender immediately. They are smugglers, not martyrs. But the SEALs ignore them. They move with violent efficiency toward the 3 men in rain slickers who are trying to blend in near the bridge. The GRU advisors, zip ties, hoods, no negotiation. Then comes the cargo, the Zircon guidance modules. These are not small chips. They are 100-kilogram assemblies of ceramic radomes and shielded processors. It takes 2 men to haul each crate to the hoist. For 8 agonizing minutes, the Ospreys hover, burning fuel, exposed. Then, the last operator hooks into the line. The ramp closes. The tilt rotors swivel forward. The aircraft accelerate, converting from helicopters to planes, and vanish into the cloud layer. The extraction is a success. The intelligence is secured. The human assets are in custody. But the MV Simon remains. To leave the ship afloat is a risk. It is a crime scene. It is evidence. And in the doctrine of Operation Broken Arrow, there is no room for evidence. The flight lead of the F-35C element, Viper 1, receives a coded data link message from the carrier. Clean slate. The pilot banks the aircraft. He does not need to dive. He does not need to see the ship with his own eyes. The radar has marked the location of the drifting trawler to within inches. The weapon bay doors snap open. The hydraulic arms push the GBU-31 into the slipstream. The bomb falls. It is heavy, 2,115 pounds. It is coated in a thermal ablative paint, gray and ugly. As it nears the water, the quicksink seeker takes over. It sees the trawler. It adjusts the tail fins. The bomb does not aim for the bridge. It does not aim for the cargo hold. It aims for the water, inches from the hull, right alongside the keel. Impact. The bomb slices into the ocean at Mach 0.9. It does not detonate on contact. That would be a waste. The fuse counts down. 10 milliseconds, 15 milliseconds. It sinks deep, right alongside the vulnerable belly of the ship. Then, the chemistry takes over. The tritonal charge ignites. This is not an explosion. It is a geological event localized to a 50-meter radius. The detonation creates a massive bubble of superheated gas. The water cannot compress, so it moves. The bubble expands upward with terrifying speed, lifting the entire center section of the trawler out of the water. The ship screams. Steel groans as the keel is bent upward, a phenomenon naval architects call hogging. For a split second, the ship is balanced on a bubble of gas. Then the bubble collapses. The support vanishes. Gravity slams the ship back down. The keel snaps. The MV Simon does not sink. It breaks its own back. The keel undergoes catastrophic hogging. The center lifts, the ends drop. The steel spine of the ship snaps under the torque. It's not sinking. It is being structurally deleted from the naval registry. In less than 60 seconds, the radar blip that represented the Simon simply ceases to exist. There is no wreckage to salvage, just a patch of oil and splintered wood swirling in the storm. The next morning, the sun rises over a calm Caribbean sea. The storm has passed. In Moscow, a report lands on a desk in the Ministry of Defense. It details a catastrophic weather incident involving a fishing vessel. There is no mention of the submarine. There is no mention of the missing engineers. To mention them would be to admit they were there. It is a silence that screams of defeat. In Caracas, the loss is financial and strategic. The Zircon batteries will not be built. The shield they hope to erect against the Americans remains a fantasy. And in Washington, the official Navy press release is 2 sentences long. It mentions a routine freedom of navigation patrol. It says nothing about the F-35s, the Ospreys, or the captured guidance chips that are now being dissected by technicians at a black site in Virginia. This is the reality of modern warfare. It is not always a chaotic brawl. Sometimes, It is a surgical procedure performed in the dark. It is a game of physics, engineering, and logistics, where a few inches of fuel tank design can dictate the tactics of a special forces raid, and where 15 milliseconds of fuse delay is the difference between damaging a ship and erasing it. The ocean has swallowed the evidence, but the data remains. So, here is the question for you. If you were the commander, sitting in that combat information center, knowing the submarine had already fled, would you have dropped the bomb? Was it necessary to destroy the ship, or was it just a message? The ocean has swallowed the wreckage, but the signal remains. Remember, in modern warfare, silence is not peace. It is merely the time it takes to reload. Keep your sensors active. We will decode the next collision in the upcoming video. Signal out.